Good evening and welcome to another edition of the Ode Chronicles. I'm Libby Reitmann, your moderator for this evening, and I am joined by a very important member of the Ode family tonight, the brains behind the operation, the father himself, Dr. Tad Mukrovich. Did I get it? Mukrovich.
Mukrovich. Yeah.
I practiced so many times. Oh, well. So if anybody's listening for the first time, the Ode Chronicles was created to get to know the runners of the Ode Racing Series and learn what their experiences have been at our events and share fond memories of race days. But today, this interview has been such a long time coming. I swear we've postponed it over and over for like a year. So
That's right.
I'm really happy that we are finally getting on, and thank you for being flexible with my timing.
Sure. Well, it's my fault. Let's make sure everybody knows that, Libby.
It was half and half.
It's my fault, and this is supposed to be all about the Ode runners and the Ode family and the races. You don't need to know about me, but I'm happy to come and talk. I'm honored to be part of the Chronicles, so thanks.
Well, we're happy to have you. And I literally told everybody I was not doing any other interview until we got this one done. So
yeah, that's the only reason I'm doing it, is because I wanted to get your Chronicles going so much. And you basically said to me, well, I'm not going to do any more of them unless you do your interview. And I said, all right, well, I guess now I'm between a rock and a hard place. So let's do it.
All right, exactly. So in an effort to keep the videos short and sweet for some of our listeners who may have a shorter attention span, we're going to break this interview into 3 different uploads. So this first interview video that we're doing right now is going to just be mostly about getting to know you and getting to understand how these events even got started in the first place. So if you're ready to divulge all your secrets.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm ready. I'm ready.
So first and foremost, tell me how this did begin. Did you just wake up one morning and think, I'm going to be a race director and I'm going to create event after event? So now we have like 4 or 5 events going on throughout the year. What began this whole craziness for you?
Well, no, I didn't wake up one morning and decide that we had to do this. So I think I was always fascinated by the endurance sports, and I had done a triathlon in the mid '80s when I moved out to California after my first job, and that was in the infancy of that sport, and I really loved it. Thought it was great. Although I was terrible, I couldn't swim. Didn't know that. I was an athlete at the right out of college, and I had played ball sports, but I thought, heck, anybody can do this if you're an athlete. And I was out in Huntington Beach and had to get pulled out of the water. And the race director was nice enough to let me do the duathlon, and those famous people racing in that. And that's before these famous people became famous. So I got hooked on it then, but I just worked and did things like that and never got back into endurance sports. But it always sat in my mind. And then I moved here to Detroit. We were raising our family. I was working in the corporate world and not exercising, not taking care of myself. And I was like, enough's enough. I got to change this. And I remembered that. I said, I want to do the triathlon thing. And normally I'm somewhat knowledgeable about science and things like that. And I should have known that, if you were a bad swimmer before and you never learned to swim in the meantime, still a bad swimmer. But I did, I went out and did a triathlon, and I was like, wow, this is really hard, and the swim really bothered me. But I got hooked. So I started doing that and really got into it. And as I got deeper into that, I really realized that it was a cool thing. I loved the endurance sports, loved the multi-sport. But I started seeing that a strange thing had been happening to the sport from the decades before, when I saw what its beauty was. And I think it had gotten distorted, or still to this day might be distorted, by a lot of corporate directives. And I joined this gang of people online that are they were kind of like a counterculture group, and started meeting these people online that, I didn't know. But I started going out and meeting them once a year at cool races around the country. And each time we'd be there talking, and these people loved it so much. And I'd share with them and say, yeah, man, this is a beautiful race, but the park that's right next to my house that I get to train in every day I think it's more beautiful, and I'm sure they got tired of hearing that. And after a couple times saying that, I said to these people, I said, well, fine, come out and visit me. And at the time I'd been going to different races, destinations around the country, and training for different length races up to Ironman. And my buddy that I live right near, Paul, who almost everybody in the Ode family knows, Paul Cottrell, he would join me and bike ride sometimes whenever he had a time, because I'd be out biking and riding the gravel, and we're only 3 miles apart from each other. So if I was going by his house, I'd say, hey, join me. And he would do that. And after a few years, Paul had come to me and said, hey, I really want to do this triathlon thing. Can I exercise with you? And before that, I was kind of more a solitary person. I don't belong to any clubs or anything like that. It's not my style.
Okay.
But I love Paul, and I can be around Paul for hours, and I don't get, upset. I knew we had already ridden a lot together, and it wouldn't affect anything, and I'd be happy to have Paul there. So start training with Paul, and I started telling Paul, hey, I want to get these people that I've been meeting on this online club. And that's what ends up now today being the Roosters, that maybe we'll talk about or not. But I said, I want to invite them out. And so sure enough, a few very brave souls decided to come out and meet some weird old guy in the woods in Michigan that they had never met before. And we rented the cabins, and we had a great time.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. So we're going to do it the next year and the next year. And at one point, Eric Swanson, who probably as Preach, you've run with him several times in the races.
Yeah.
Eric did real well last year. He's training to run again this year. He comes every year. So he's one of the Roosters. Eric was part of this original club. So Eric is on the phone. He's like, hey, we really need to do something that's a running race. Because the thing about that club I was in is we don't take it too seriously, and we don't think that you just got to do this kind of triathlon and that's the end all. We just love it all, as crazy as it is, or if it's trail ultra running, or if it's long distance swimming, or long distance kayaking, or whatever. At all. And we want everybody to participate. We want it to be inclusive. And Eric said, yeah, we need to do that, because a lot of the people are into the running, and some people don't like the swimming. And I'm like, well, Eric, we don't care. At our little fun games that we put on, people can use swim fins and a snorkel, or be rubber ducky arm floats. We don't care. It was good. And like a week later, I talked to Eric again, and we had both seen the stuff about the Backyard Ultra, and we were both huge fans of Lazarus's other races, which are all equally as brilliant. And I said, well, let's do that, Eric, because then when we're sitting at the cabins enjoying our beers, any of the Roosters are out running around in the woods, if they're gone for 7 or 8 hours, we don't know if they're hurt or not. I don't want to deal with that. If we don't see everybody once an hour, then we know to go get them, and they're only going to be on one trail. So this works out perfect. There's our endurance race. So we had added it to our little private games, which we call the Soiree Trials. And then I got guilty. I'm a rule follower, and I don't like to get anybody upset. So I said, oh my gosh, I named this thing the Ode to Laz Michigan Backyard Ultra, because everything we do in this little get together is kind of poking fun at the establishment. And that's what its purpose was for, to be a big joke. But we're all deadly serious about doing endurance sports. We love it, but we don't like people that take it too serious.
Okay.
Oh, geez, I put this thing out online, and maybe 10 or 20 people in our group online in this forum that nobody knows about might see this. Now I'm guilty. I'm like, oh, I've used Laz's name. So I sent him a note on Facebook, and within a few minutes, he had a conversation with me, and he didn't know me from Adam. He was the nicest guy in the world. And he said, you just need to make this a real race. I was like, I'm not a race director. And he, in his fashion that only he can have, sent back a note that said, it's pretty easy. Just don't lose a runner. And I went, well, he's probably right. I'm already doing all the effort. And he said, you're doing all the effort. You got everything done. It's a simple race to execute. I was like, yeah, I've already done that. My friends are going to be here. What if we put it online? And Laz said, well, put it on Ultra Sign Up and it'll sell out in a week. I think it was 2 weeks that it sold out the first time.
Yeah.
And, I said, okay, we're going to limit it to 70 people because I didn't know how to do this. And
you only had to keep track of 70.
right. And my friends showed up. We had all our fun.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a formal race we're going to put on, and it happened. And then it just took off from there. So it wasn't intentional. I'm happy it happened, but it was never something that I really aspired to.
Okay.
And it's just something that I feel we have to continue because the people that have come out and that I've met are just so amazing that I feel we owe a lot to the Ode community to keep it going. So,
well, and a few of us know
long answer to a short question.
A few of us know where you live, so if you didn't keep it going, we'd be picketing outside your house.
Well, look, I just missed my first race ever.
I know.
A couple weekends ago, and for a wonderful reason. And it ran better without me. So you guys can come pick it up.
Well, it ran pretty darn smooth, but it wasn't better.
I'm going to give you all the equipment and you guys could take over. And then Paul and I can just sit around doing whatever we want to do, because there's a plus and minus to this. It was so laid back and so much fun when the people just came out and visited. But when you got to put on a big race, that's a lot of stuff going on, right?
I'll tell you something without going in too much depth about, what race it was and why you weren't there and stuff. But we talked about you so much, I felt like we were at your wake.
Boy.
At one point I was like, I don't like this. I feel like Tad died or something, and like this like commemorative. We talked about you so much, so all good things.
Wow.
You know what I mean? How much we missed you, memories we had of you. So you can't miss any more races, because
memories of me sleeping through the races. Yep. I got it.
Just good stuff. So yeah, but it left this weird vibe. I don't know. I was like, I don't like this. Tad's got to show back up.
All right, it'll only be for things that amazing that I'll miss a race.
Okay, fair enough. All right.
Our daughter, people can know our daughter got married.
And congratulations to her.
Thanks. It was wonderful, and I was, that's for something like that. I'll always miss the races.
That's a good reason, I guess.
By the time we saw that the dates were overlapping, it was too late to move a race and inconvenience the people that were going to run, because whenever you all sign up for things that big, it's a big commitment on your part, and you plan and you have your training schedules, and I know that nobody likes to get those messed up. So the race had to run, and it seemed to work out great.
Yeah. Well, shout out to Bob. He did a wonderful job. So yeah. He was very serious about it. He wasn't taking his duties lightly. So
Bob's very serious about it. Bob knows how to do all this stuff.
So the Swarry trials, kind of how you're saying it kind of led to the creation of Ode to Laz. And what do you guys do during the Swarry trials? Are you still holding that, or is it just morphed into the running event now?
No, we still do that. In my mind, that's the most important thing, and it always will be.
Okay.
Basically, for the whole week before, or a few days, and now it's moving backwards a little. I've never done a good enough job, and I'm still learning to do a good enough job at it to get my ducks in a row so that it's all set up before friends arrive. Every year, the friends have done so much to bail me out and take care of all the preparations for the races, and I keep trying to make sure that that's lessened each year, and I think I'm getting better at that. But everybody shows up for the few days before the races, and we're at the cabins and we're just having fun. Where people bring their bikes, their swim gear, their running shoes, and we do triathlons. Our goal is to show people that it's a sport that anyone can do and try their first time. These people that show up are a lot of them are very accomplished athletes and serious about it. But to be a rooster, you got to not take yourself very seriously. So we show up and we have a lot of fun, a lot of joking, a lot of laughing, a lot of hysterics going on. But people are really training and doing things, and we have events that we have named and courses. But we'll also make stuff for people as well. And again, it's very informal. You don't need fancy bikes and things like that. I mean, one of the things about the roosters is some of them are incredible athletes. Not me. I'm not a real endurance person. I just like to do it. I enjoy it, but I'm not kind of built for all that. But there's some of the folks out there that are really great. But they they'll do the stuff on a bike with a wicker basket on the front or whatnot.
Right.
The funnier the better. We dress in costumes, things like that. But we
Yeah.
have stuff everywhere from like a micro triathlon up to now. Last year, we actually did a real formal registration required triathlon event on Friday called the Impossible Man.
Okay.
People get
I was going to ask you about that.
yeah, you might have
It's a
seen that.
registerable event. Yep.
Yeah, if people were there on Friday trying to do early registration and all that, they saw we had probably about 25 athletes, I think. They came out and tried it for the first time and kind of inspired by backyard or inspired by old-fashioned Formula One style triathlon where the triathletes repeat a triathlon, swim, bike, run, then swim, bike, run, swim, bike, run again.
Oh,
That's what this is. So Impossible Man, you can come out and do just one triathlon, or you can come out and see how many times you can complete the circuit all day. And
okay.
it was I didn't think the way I designed the course, I didn't think really many athletes would have an opportunity to complete a full Ironman distance in 14 hours. And as it turns out, we almost had one contestant do it last year, and so we'll see. We're going to do it again this year.
Oh, wow. I
But
had no idea
kind of
about that.
formal, right?
Oh,
That's a real race on Friday, but we still do our fun informal stuff even on Friday.
okay.
This year we'll have some people showing up maybe as early as Tuesday, and there's some roosters that try to come every year, and we love having them here, and they all have become people that you've run alongside in the Ode race as well. So these people,
Yeah.
some of them that you're running with, they've already been doing stuff for 3 or 4 days.
I was just going to say, I can't imagine if they show up on Tuesday, what the state of things will be by Saturday. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I think we're learning. I think we're learning that you need to pack in a lot more of the fun on Tuesday and Wednesday night, and you need to try to maybe dial it back a little
Yeah.
Friday night, but who knows? Roosters are roosters, so
It's a whole different type of pacing yourself, right?
right. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I loved some of the people that I met that came out last year. It was a kooky bunch.
Yeah.
So they were
And
all
that's what I love
characters.
about the Roosters. That was this online group of people I met that are just an odd mix of personalities, but they all share one thing in common.
Yeah.
They're incredibly welcoming. They want endurance sports to be accessible by everyone. And they don't want there to be any air of elitism about it. and they absolutely don't want people to feel intimidated to come join the family or the group, right? And that's, I think, what the whole Ode family was built around, is that original feeling from this group of people. So I think the reason you like them is because you found you like the Ode family and the Ode races. Well, these are the people where that came from. So
Yeah, they definitely, maybe we fit right in with them, I should say. I was going to say they fit in with us, but it really is a matter of us fitting in with them. So,
yeah, but they'll never tell you that they're
yeah,
into their crew.
they're
Yeah.
too nice for that. Yeah. So, what do you do in your real life when you're not coming up with more races and events? Has your day job been an asset to race directing?
No, I did
Okay.
have an asset to race directing. I worked forever in engineering, product process development, and innovation, mostly in the auto industry. Started in the aerospace industry, then went in the auto industry. Did that for a long time, and was doing that right up and through COVID. And then a company I was with went bankrupt. Um, but during that time, I had already started to study and get my doctorate, and that's in innovation entrepreneurship field. And so I'm going to continue that. I'm going to try to take that technology that I developed and continue that and build that into a business. You could consider it or think about like consulting,
Okay.
but really trying to turn it into a product that goes along with consulting. I don't know that my desire is to just be a consultant per se, but it's something where I want to take the decades of experience I have from that industry and in being good at innovation and product development, process development, and organizational behavior efficiency. And I want to get that out to the world and try to make everyone be better at what they do and more efficient at what they do and save resources. So that's what I do in my real life. It's very nerd-like. I'd say the only benefit that has to race directing is that if attention to detail helps you as a race director, then I know how to do that and do planning and things like that. I think Paul Cottrell will tell you through all of our bike rides, and poor Paul has to, behind the scenes suffer through all of these ideas, the planning and all that. He'll tell you that my engineeringness and attention to all those details is probably a hindrance.
Oh.
He saves my bacon an awful lot. So every one of you in the Ode family has a lot that you owe to Paul without knowing it. He saves you all a lot of heartache.
What are you overthinking things?
Me? Oh, never.
Okay.
Never, Libby. Yes. So
All right.
Paul is the savior that tries to take some of that away.
Okay.
Um, and Paul and I were doing all this working out when the whole thing started. So he's been instrumental in not only creating and keeping the Swarry trials going, but also making sure that the content of what everybody gets exposed to is good. He's saved everybody from an awful lot of bad ideas, and he's created an awful lot of good ideas that help out everything we do. So shout out to Paul, and make sure when you all see him at the race, you give him all the credit that's due. So yeah, engineering doesn't help too much. I my family business was drag racing growing up, and that put me through college, turned me into an engineer. My dad in the 50s fell in love with drag racing as a racer himself.
Wow.
He never stopped racing cars his whole life until he retired. But during the period, he decided that you can make money trying to be a race car driver, or you can make money in drag racing being a promoter and owning the facilities and racetracks. And he
Okay.
went mostly that route of owning the facilities and racetracks. He always raced his own cars because he loved that. That was his passion. Um, and then he ended up being able to benefit from that from the business standpoint as well. But primarily, we owned and operated racetracks, and he promoted them. And I would say that's more where I draw experience that's helped me as a race director, because from the time I was zero, I got to pay attention to what he was doing. And
Okay.
he always had a philosophy that it's not about the sport or creating this elitism in the sport. It's about providing what the grassroots participants need and want and making them happy. So my focus in the ode races is always trying to make that experience something great for the people that participate and are so loyal. But really, what I always think about and struggle with is how do we get new people to come out? Because this is a niche thing, right? If you're going to be a race director, even if I wanted to be a race director professionally, and this is not to make money, if I wanted to do that, you'd be doing 5Ks or something where you have 3,000 runners, right? Or 10,000 runners or whatnot. And it's a huge task. This is a niche thing. There's not a lot of folks like yourself that can run for, 50 miles and 100 miles and 200 miles. And so the sport, fortunately, is something where we can start expanding our races to have new people come in. And I don't want people to always think that this is about running 50
Yeah.
miles or what. I'm shocked that people don't come out just for why we started the Soiree Trials, which is to come out and enjoy the sun, be in a beautiful place and have some beer. Well, we give away all this food and beer for free. The fact that people run more than one lap is astonishing to me.
No,
And
we're catching on.
there you go. So to me, it's all about trying to get people out and show them that this is just a great amount of fun to have. And
Yeah.
I think I'd credit my dad for all that. That's where I get I draw on a lot of ideas and inspiration. So because he was very, very, very good at what he did. And,
Yeah.
in a very difficult industry. And he had to get people to come out every weekend and do the same thing, right? That's hard to do. Now, we're never going to do that here at the Ode.
Let's
but
not.
the principles are the same. You've got to have something where when people come out, they really enjoy it. And that's what the Ode's all about to me.
Well, that's what it's about to me too. So we're on the same page there. You always say that you will only run one ode lap and that's it. Why only one? And haven't you ever been curious to see how far you could go?
Yes. So when I got back into exercise and once again realized that I still didn't know how to swim and really got hooked on this thing, I ended up, getting infatuated by the all-day trail running and stuff like that. So yes, I want to do more. I probably will do more, but I think I always say that because I want to illustrate to everybody that it's not necessarily more fun to run more than one lap. It's just as much fun to run one and stop as it is to do anything else. I want to run more. I wanted to run more and compete with Paul. That's the only thing I want to do is compete with Paul. We train all day together, so I don't care who I run with. I just want to run with Paul. If Paul's going to do a lot of laps, I want to do a lot of laps. So
okay, yeah,
that's what it's about for me.
Paul only ever runs one too. So.
Well, Paul did let's see, 3 at the ice race a couple of years ago.
Okay.
I was going to run with him, but I had done something. I got hurt right before it, and then he ran, and we were getting ready to do that just because we were going to surprise everybody. And then he got, and I didn't do it. And one thing's led to another, but I think we're getting back into it. You might see Paul and I out there doing more than one lap.
All right.
But that's what we enjoy doing. Credit to you and others like yourself that can run so far and love running so far. We're a bit older. We're not as durable, So we take our enjoyment with, one lap, and then we throw some swimming in and some biking and whatever else. So, but yeah, that's why I say that. Yeah, I'm going to get out there and run a few, but I don't know when.
Well, I'll keep waiting.
Yeah,
So,
you keep waiting. Yeah, just keep showing up. Keep showing up. It's going to happen.
so you mentioned earlier, your one of your goals for creating these races was to make an event that didn't take itself so seriously, that was accessible to everybody. And that has become a big, I don't want to say issue. It's become a big promotional thing for us, is to make it accessible to people, and not just have these elite runners showing up and running 200 miles. And we want everybody to come out. But with that being said, if we did have somebody who is considered an elite runner, a famous ultra runner, come out to our race, is there someone in particular you'd like to see come out and compete on our course, or does it not really matter to you? Would you get more satisfaction on seeing the newbie, 16-year-old come out and do a couple laps? Or what are your thoughts on that? Are you trying to get elite people coming, or are you trying to keep it an everybody event?
Question. Okay. So I think we can satisfy both, and we need to. It's an honor if really great runners come out. First of all, we have very great runners that have won the Ode, right? I mean, and have done very well at the backyard. These people have proven themselves. So we have, our champions are quite a nice group of people.
Yes.
People that have propelled them to that have gotten second and third, and all. These are phenomenal runners, and I always love seeing them. But I want to see them, but I don't. If they show up, it doesn't matter to me if they run 1 lap or 2 laps or 8 laps or 40 laps. I don't ever want anyone to do anything at the Ode except enjoy themselves, right? So I never want a runner, especially those elites, to ever injure themselves or try to do something that their body is telling them that day they can't do. And look, I get it. Ultra runners are a different breed. You and all the rest of you that can run so far, you love to find that point on the struggle bus in the pain cave and just drive yourself into oblivion. I get it, right? But that's not what I want for everybody. So when we get, if Piotr comes back, or Sarah's gonna be out, and or Justin, these are our past champions, and Brian Wooden, who pushed everybody so far, and David Compton, who's done that, and the list goes on and on. And Miko is always on the podium. And now I'm happy for them to do 1 billion laps, but I want them to enjoy themselves. I appreciate them all coming. So if a Courtney, or if Harvey, or, I mean, me personally, I'm fascinated by the superhuman Kilian Jornet, right? If somebody like that came, I would love to watch them. And it would be really cool, because when you watch someone who's that amazing at what they do it, then it's neat. But I don't care how far they go. I don't care if they set a record or not. The race will be the race because of you and I and them and every one of us together, right? The race is the race because of the 100 and some people there smiling, laughing, and all that. You've seen it.
Oh yeah, it's the collective group. Yeah,
it doesn't,
absolutely.
right? So I'm not trying to insult elite runners. I want them all to come. I wish they would all reach out and contact me directly. I'd be delighted to have them. So I want everybody to race the race, but I want everybody to race the race because it's an amazing spectacle. you asked, is it more important to see the young person? I think the young person. That's what means more to me.
Yeah.
See the kids out in the Wendling family and and anybody that's and Smiths and anyone else that's had in what 2 years ago, I think the COVID year, there was at Oak Flats, there was a boy that was just graduated high school, I think, came out, and he had never done any kind of long run before, ultra marathon or anything, and
Hmm.
went and did 50 miles that day. Just amazing, right? Now, I don't want kids to come out and hurt themselves and do something
Right.
that's not good when they're too young and don't have the training background. But if they're going to do it anyway, I'd rather they do it here because it's the safest way in the backyard format. So I think the kid thing is the coolest. And this year we're going to have it's. I'm talking about it with some people, and it's not a done deal yet. It's not on paper, and people have signed up yet. But if any high school or youth league coaches see this, they should contact me, because we're doing a special deal where coach can bring their team of kids and they can experience the ode as a team.
Ah, okay.
I think you're going to see that this year, and that makes me more excited than anything.
That would be awesome. I would be excited about that too. I love that idea. So
Well, and I the greatest thing for me is and also people that come back again and again. There's so many of the Ode family, and I can't name them all, but the
yeah,
runs that we see every year. So when these kids come out and see that and feel that, it's selfish on my part. I want to try to create future customers in a way, right? Any promoter would want to do that. But I want to create, I want it to be something where they get hooked on it like we all do. Because
yeah,
we're hooked on it now. You asked me if I would run a lot of laps. I'm going to do that someday, but then I'm going to miss the race.
right. You miss
I'll
all the
feel
fun, right?
so awesome watching you all do what you do.
Yeah,
1 to 2 to 3, it doesn't matter what number. It's
yeah.
amazing.
Well, and I think something important for those kid groups too to come out and see is trail running and ultra running are very different from track sport, organized track sports that they participate at school. And I even had a friend of mine whose daughter she had joined the track team in high school, and she hated it, absolutely hated running. It kind of ruined it for her. And I told her mom, I said, you need to have her sign up for some of these trail events, 5K, 10K, a backyard style, where if she wants to do some longer distances, where it's a collective team coming together. You're not racing each other. You're, trying for your own goal, and there's really no pressure. So I think that, some of these running groups, of middle schoolers and high schoolers, they may come out and see, like, rekindle their love of running because it's not as regimented as what they're used to. So, and I mean, I would love to see more young kids enjoy it
Yeah,
versus just be pushed to
that's,
perform,
I
so,
think you're spot on. Yeah. Yeah. You're right on. That's what it's all about, right? That's what
yeah,
we love, the ode. And when someone comes out and they say, I've never done more than 3 miles before, I've never done more than 2 miles before, and they get that lap, right?
yeah,
That even one lap is maybe a distance record to them.
yeah,
It's just incredible to see that on their face,
yeah,
and if somebody's done 5 miles but's never done 8 and they get their second lap. I mean, it's no matter what everybody does,
yeah,
there's some that I think it's a safe way for people to explore that boundary.
yeah,
And I just can't help but feel that the younger runners will fall in love with the atmosphere of the people that are at the Ode, because the people that are at any of the Ode races are what make it, not the race. I mean, we can pick a trail anywhere. We can go any distance. We can go around in circles.
right,
Those people that really do it, and you're right, it's very different from a track event. There's a huge difference between the track event and the cross country event, and the kids
right,
know that.
Yeah.
But then the between the cross country event field and these races is huge too.
Yes.
The like you say, it's the enjoyment rather than the pressure, and
Yeah.
that's what is so cool about why Gary Cantrell Lazarus Lake,
Mhm.
as we all know. That's why I think it's so brilliant what he really conceived of and invented here is because it's it's as competitive and as challenging as any elite event can be,
Mhm.
but at the same time it's as accessible as any beginner event can be.
Right.
And I don't like to use the word beginner in a bad way. It's a toe in the water type thing when I say it that way. I mean,
Right.
you don't have to feel intimidated by the distance. And what's cool is you can enjoy it every year and know that you're never going to do more than one loop, like me.
Yeah.
I love that.
And you don't need to be intimidated by your body's limitations either. If you are a new runner or beginner runner, you can walk up the hills, and some of these cross country kids, when you tell them, no, like you can walk up that hill, or like, what, walk? Like during a
Yeah.
race? No, I
Yeah.
can't do that. I'll get yelled at if I don't keep this pace, or what, you know what I mean? Like, so you can listen to your body. It's almost it's a format that is good for beginners because you do listen to your body more and how you're feeling, and do I need to walk for a few minutes, or you know what I mean? So I don't know. I just love
You're
it.
smart.
I
If you're
just love
smart, you listen to your
it.
body and you walk, right? I
Yeah,
mean, it's
right.
a
Yeah.
tough course
Yeah.
at the Ode. It's a tough course, but not tougher than a lot of difficult trail races.
Yeah.
And and I think people coming out for the first time, they kind of get shocked. At most races, there's this high intensity atmosphere and the gun goes off and you go. And I think the first time people experience the Ode, they're running and like right at the beginning of the first loop out of the parking lot or anywhere you are, I think a lot of them are shocked to be like, oh my gosh, these people are walking here. And wait a minute, I recognize them. There's a champion. There's
Yeah.
somebody you know is finished near the top all the time and they're walking. And it's just a whole different thing. It's a laid back
Yeah.
event, but the laid back nature of the way you execute a loop is what helps you reduce that overall stress during the event and go really long. And
Yeah.
I think that's cool for people to see that right away, right? Of
Yeah.
course, there's a lot of people that come out brand new and they go ahead and run everything. They run the stairs and all that.
Right.
Within a few laps, they'll stop, but
Right.
stop doing that because it hurts, right?
Yeah.
But then they see that the way this is designed and the way Gary conceived this whole thing allows that stress-free, slow pace, and that's the name of the game, right?
Yeah.
And that's a healthful way to run too.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So let's get into a couple of personal questions here. So naturally, I had to reach out to some of our OGs from the original first year of the Ode. We have people, like you said, who come back year after year, and we love them all, and they love you. So they wanted to have a hand in coming up with some questions for you. And I'm not going to tell you who wrote the questions and all that, but you could probably guess for some of
Yeah,
it.
I'll figure it out and I'll meet her out the punishment.
Right. So this is like our rapid fire round, right?
Okay.
So, okay. First question is, what would you do for a Klondike bar?
Cluck like a chicken.
Oh, there you go. What is your favorite Pigeon Hill beer?
Oh, Alana Catalina.
Ooh, nice. Favorite Mr. Kipling?
Boy, they're all so good. Um, so this is tough for me because I can only describe them by I don't know the names of them because
Same. Yeah.
I can't buy them all the time. The one and Andrew can tell us what it is, but it's round. It's like a little teeny pie.
Yes.
Got I think it's a cherry or strawberry filling in it. Maybe a cherry,
Yeah.
I can't remember. And that one is just that's to die for me. That's my
Yeah.
favorite.
That's my favorite too. Well, I knew we'd get along for a reason.
Remember we had all that taste testing,
We
at one of
did.
Yeah, it was very complex.
So yeah, so for those of you who don't know, Little Kipling has been compared to Little Debbie, but I'll be very careful on how I say that, because there's been a long-standing feud between the Little Debbie and the Mr. Kipling.
Yeah,
So
I don't get involved in that.
yeah, I
I
won't ask
eat
you which you
every,
prefer.
no, you can't. I eat every sweet there is.
I eat it all too. So do you have a favorite memory from an oat event?
Yes. I have a couple. Am I allowed to tell you a couple?
Yeah.
Uh, my first one, the first race, it was so new and so uh, enthralling. And so a person who now is famous in the ode lore, Sarah Moore, comes up to me as I'm sitting down checking people in. And I had never done this before. I had never been checking, but I had my little spreadsheet, being the engineer that I am.
Mm-hmm.
And I look up, and there's this person with this really warm, captivating smile, twinkle in her eye. And I said, "Who are you?" She goes, "Sarah Moore." And okay, I check it out and I say, "Do you have a goal of what you're going to do or your distance?" She goes, "Well, what's it going to take to win?" And I was writing and I looked up at her and I was like, what's this person about?
Right.
And she goes, "Well, just put, if it's going to take a day, just put that plus another lap." And she smiled and chuckled. And I thought that was just a really interesting exchange. So I wrote down on my little sheet that she's going to take whatever it is, it's going to be the maximum amount, plus one to win.
Yeah.
And so as the race wore on, and I saw this battle going on between her and Matt and Antonio, uh, it sucked me in emotionally. And when I was standing at the start finish line, and I had never experienced the end of a backyard ultra. And you all know that you've been there, this. The end of a backyard ultra is the oddest thing in the world because you have all these emotions going, and then instantly it stops. It like someone pulls the plug. You don't know what to do. It's like, what just happened? Well, that feeling of what just happened rushed over me at the identical time that I think it rushed over her. And I saw her put her hands to her face and collapse right there on the start finish line. And I mean, that brought tears to my eyes. It was really an amazing thing. Right. And I would say each year now, it's things like that stick out in my head. And I got to watch an amazing struggle with Abby McCarthy and the battle then with Piotr and David and Sarah and then what Justin Wright did and several people pushed to the end. And again, I say this is for everybody, and I want everybody to come out and see it. But these things that come to mind and grip so hard are the ones that naturally happen near the end when we've all become so vested emotionally in that particular event. So those all stick out. But then there's others, just seeing racers during the race. I have indelible snapshots in my head because I love to be at different places during the race and just seeing people that have such big smiles,
Yeah.
or seeing people that I know are struggling so bad and then watching them get through it. Those things stick out. But I think that first race, I'll never forget that because it was just such a new thing, and
Yeah.
I think it surprised her as much as anyone. And for me to the whole time be saying, "Oh my gosh, this weird exchange I had at check-in with
Yeah.
the person who basically called their shot at check-in, and now they're going to pull it off." That was astonishing. That
Yeah.
was a lot. That was
That's Sarah. For anybody who gets to know her. Yeah, she does it. She says she's gonna do it and then she does it. So she's awesome. But I think when I checked in with you and you asked me, do I plan on running longer than 24 hours or something? And I laughed. I thought it was a joke. I had no idea what I was getting into. I was like, what? This guy's funny, and then yeah. And then it went longer. So
The reason
yeah,
I was asking that was for safety purposes, right?
yeah,
Because an all-day event, if there's people that I truly knew were aspiring to that, and it's still going to be the same to this day, all the other races, we want to keep an extra special eye on those people because
right,
we watch what they're doing, what they're eating, how their personality is changing during the race. And that gives us a big clue as to if they're safe or not. Because
right,
important thing, like Glass said, just don't lose a runner, right?
yeah,
That you got to do is not let anybody injure themselves out here. And
yeah,
that's
yeah. That means physically as well as their location, right? It's hard to get lost on a loop, but it's happened before.
yeah,
So only
yeah,
temporarily though, right?
yeah, 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 yeah. You got
So
it.
my next question for you is, who do we have to bribe to get the DJ and cornhole toss at Overlook throughout every day of the July event?
Every day of the July event. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, because last year it was
So,
only for the
so,
first day.
we have great sponsors. Let me say, Complete Runner, our favorite local running store. Brad and Antonio are amazing. They take care of the Overlook and they run that whole thing.
Yeah.
So that's because of the kindness of them. Now, I will say that cornhole there, that's proprietary. That's
Oh,
the area. I can't. I don't have a lot of control over that.
okay.
So if we want to have that at every day of the early events, maybe we can talk to them about it. So I'd encourage everybody watching to go to Complete Runner, talk to them at the store,
Yeah.
convince that needs to happen. Get something, get your shoes, get your gear, get your nutrition. But I will say, on race day, that's where it will be, is that location. That's
Yeah.
their
The Overlook. Yeah.
specialty, right?
All right. So I think we might only have 1 minute left, Tad. So
Okay.
I'm gonna wrap this up, and I'm gonna save those other questions for our next session that I didn't
Right.
get to. So
Okay, thanks.
I want to thank you again for joining me, and for everybody
Sure.
who's listening. I can't wait to see the reaction of all of our runners when they finally do watch these 3 interviews. I think it's gonna be
It's I
they're gonna
I
love
don't
it.
think it's anywhere as good as
We do it for them.
so. All right. If they need to know, they got
So
it.
we're gonna take this quick break, and we'll be back with part 2 of our interview with Tad. Happy trails.
See you. Thanks, Libby.
Okay.